While under the Lich King's control, the Knights of the Ebon Blade were known as the Death Knights of Acherus. They could be considered a sort of third generation of Death Knights. The first were the Death Knights of the Old Horde, orc warlocks whose souls are attached to the corpses of human knights. The second generation, Arthas' generation, were, for the most part, either fallen Lordaeron warriors and paladins, or nobles who willingly aligned themselves with the Scourge in the Third War. The third generation, while similarly powerful to the previous one, are more of a mass-produced army, resurrected from the corpses of those who fell fighting the Scourge, or during Bolvar's time, just corpses in general. Of this third generation, Arthas intended the Death Knights of Acherus to be his greatest instrument. The necropolis, Acherus, was designed by the genius architect Oberheim the Traveler, advisor to Kel'thuzad and also the one who designed Naxxramas previously. Acherus, though, was designed to be even mightier than Naxxramas, and was staffed with hundreds, possibly, though unlikely, thousands of Death Knights. Judging by the various reports scattered around him, it's also possible that Darien Mograine, the High Lord of the Death Knights of Acherus and later the Knights of the Ebon Blade, was charged by the Lich King with formulating strategies for the front lines in Northrend and the rest of the Eastern Kingdoms. When raised into undeath, new Death Knights, except the unworthy ones who are killed immediately after, lose many of the unique aspects which characterize their race. For instance, Blood Elf Death Knights lose their addiction to magic, Worgen Death Knights have their feral instincts shattered, all to better serve the Lich King. Generally speaking, they also have the memories of their past lives suppressed, though not universally so, and friendship or camaraderie between the Death Knights is also heavily discouraged. Instead, Death Knights are afflicted with what they call the Eternal Hunger, or the Endless Hunger. They are addicted to inflicting pain, suffering, and death on others on a regular basis. If not, they will suffer immense pain and agony themselves, to the point that, eventually, the Death Knight will lose themselves in a murderous frenzy. In addition, they can only feel positive emotions, quote, for a brief time and rarely, but they feel negative emotions much more deeply. All Death Knights, as well as all members of the Scourge, also learn the Language of Death, an actual, language that the Scourge sometimes uses to write tomes, which is apparently written with blood and presumably somehow related to the Shadowlands. As various Knights of the Ebon Blade put it, the Lich King did not take the loss of this force well. To that end, he created a new order of elite Death Knights, the Host of Suffering, led by Orbaz Bloodbane, formerly a high-ranking Death Knight of Acherus, but who fled the Battle of Light's Hope Chapel instead of being freed. He also ordered the construction of a new type of necropolis for them, Malekris the Vile Hold, built entirely out of Saronite, the material used in building Icecrown Citadel itself, which would render it almost indestructible. In fact, many of the Saronite quarries in Icecrown were devoted to supplying the material for this project. The increased amount of spare Saronite also allowed the Scourge to experiment somewhat, creating, for instance, empowered ghouls by embedding them with the metal. By the time of the fall of the Lich King, Malekris was still incomplete due to the sabotage carried out by adventurers and the Knights of the Ebon Blade, though it did become the, quote, seat of the Lich King's metalworking operations. As to the Host of Suffering, the Ebon Blade and adventurers also killed its main leaders and instructors, including Orbaz Bloodbane, before they had a chance to train a massive new force of Death Knights. While the specific in-game examples are rare, it's been indicated that Arthas made attempts to reclaim the Knights of the Ebon Blade following their desertion. Namely, one quest line states that all Death Knights are normally under constant assault by shades from the Realm of Shadows, or the Realm of the Dead, aka the Shadowlands. However, the Lich King keeps those shades away from the Death Knights loyal to him. As to the Knights of the Ebon Blade, however, Arthas not only allowed those shades to assault the Death Knights, but also actively encouraged them to do so. It's been indicated that, until Koltira Deathweaver found out with the aid of an adventurer, the Death Knights were unaware that those shades' attacks were aided by the Lich King. Presumably, after Arthas fell and Bolvar became the Lich King, he kept those shades at bay, though still this phenomenon is only mentioned in one questline and has never appeared since.